Jack, right here, your head is shining.
You know, my head was like that when I was born.
You want to switch sides? Got a little bit more covered.
Keep it to yourself.
All right, we will call our commissioners meeting for 21st October to order. At the same time, we'll like to ask Commissioner Riddick if she would give us the invocation of prayer, and then we'll do the pledge of allegiance. Dr. Riddick.
We'll stand. Heavenly Father, it's again that we're here to do the business of Gates County. We ask that you settle down with us, your Holy Spirit, give us clear hearts, minds, and the will to do the business of the people. We're thankful for your grace and mercy today. We ask you to continue to heal those who are sick, no matter what the illness may be. We ask that you put upon our hearts to be good stewards of what you've given us, even this authority that we serve on this board of commissioners. In Jesus Christ's name I pray, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Dr. Riddick. Now pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And now may I have a motion to go into closed session pursuant to the North Carolina General Statute 143, 318.11, A, for legal personnel issues.
Make
Mr.
that
Chair,
motion.
I'll second.
There's a
Mr.
motion
Owens.
and a second. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign? Hearing none, go into closed session. All right, we step out of closed session. May I have a motion to come out of closed session?
So moved.
Motion
Second.
on the floor and a second. All in favor of coming out of closed session? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign? Hearing none, stand by out of closed session. Agenda adjustments. Any adjustments to the agenda, gentlemen and ladies?
Mr. Chair, thanks to the clerk to the board, I just realized, if it would be possible in under old business, letter E, if we table that item to next month.
All right, any discussion as pertaining to old business, Board of Commissioners rules of procedure?
I'll second the motion to amend the agenda.
And to remove that from tonight's agenda.
With the stipulation, we consider it next month.
Yeah, yes, ma'am. My motion would be that we table it to next month.
Okay.
It's on my dining room table, my notes.
I'll agree.
All right, that'd be under item 9, old business. Any further discussion? There's a motion and a second. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign? Thus removed. Thank you, sir. Any other adjustments?
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion, we approve the agenda as amended.
Second.
It's a motion to approve the agenda as amended and a second. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign? Hearing none. Agenda is here approved. Consent agenda.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the consent agenda. It's copied in our minutes and we've all reviewed it.
I'll second his motion, Mr. Chair.
All right, there is a motion on the floor to approve the consent agenda, which is approval of minutes from September 16 to 24, tax refunds, and budget amendments. Is that correct?
Correct.
So motion and a second. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign? Hearing none, consent agenda here is approved. Number 5, any special guests? Looks like everyone's special. I'm looking at some folks I see. Any of those special guests want to step forward? Citizens' comments.
There's no one signed up, but I do have a written comment from Anthony Felton on White Oak Road in York concerning the 2020 election. He writes, "Hello, everyone, and hope everyone is doing well. Usually at the general election, when I get a chance, I would help out at the polls, helping the political party. However, this year, because of the COVID-19 that's plaguing our country, I chose to sit this one out to keep myself protected. In addition to sitting this one out, I'm doing my part by absentee voting this year for the first time. I'm sorry I can't help out at the polls this time. However, I hope by voting for the political party will be just as good. Good luck and have an awesome day."
Thank you, Mr. Felton. Anything else? Anything come in, Madam Clerk? Not administrative reports. County manager's report.
This is for September the 5th through October the 7th. Lee Insurance has been awarded $2,000 from the Overseas Healthcare Foundation COVID-19 grant. Applications are still being accepted, and they are online or they can be obtained by me. And since then, the committee has met. They've awarded 2 more grants, and they will be meeting again next week. Time was spent on conference calls related to COVID-19 with the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners for County Managers, as well as the North Carolina Pandemic Recovery Office. The 2016 Essential Single Family Rehabilitation Loan Pool Project totaling $88,524 has been closed, and 2 houses were rehabilitated. the 2017 Essential Single Family Rehabilitation Loan Pool Disaster Recovery Project has been extended until December 31st of 2021. To date, one house has been completed, which means all paperwork has been submitted and approved by the North Carolina Housing Finance Agency. 4 houses are awaiting closeout, and 2 houses have been approved for rehabilitation. To date, $250,548 has been dispersed out of $362,212. The 2019 Essential Single Family Rehabilitation Loan Pool Project has 1 house approved, 1 in reserve status, which means funds have been set aside, but additional information is needed before approval, and 1 pending setup, which means more information is needed in the system before funds can be reserved by the North Carolina Housing Finance Agency. Concerning the CDBG-NR program that Mr. Barnett was here in August to speak about, Kim Outland and I spoke with Tony Moore with the North Carolina Department of Commerce about how to draw down funds for the program. On the morning of October 7th, I spoke with Mr. Barnett. He acknowledged due to office staffing, the request for housing bids has not gone out, and he is running about 30 days behind schedule. Income eligibility is being checked as required by the grant. Not all applicants have responded to the request and are being followed up by an office associate. On October 29th and 30th, I have been invited on behalf of the Davie County Commissioners to serve as an assessor for the Davie County Manager interviews. The process will be virtual, and I did accept this opportunity. On September the 11th, Kim Outland and I met with various school employees and contractors to work towards finalizing the final amount spent on the Central Middle School project. There are still a few outstanding invoices, but it is anticipated the project will come in under budget. On September the 23rd, Christy Byram and I met with representatives from Pierce Group, who is our insurance broker, and the North Carolina League of Municipalities to review 2019 insurance data, as well as discuss the wellness grant process since it has changed. You have questions, and I know Commissioner Hoffler evidently had one earlier.
Any comments, commissioners?
I do, I was looking at this Essential Single Family Rehabilitation Loans, and I see 216, 217, 218 was funds appropriated, or they?
No.
Okay, that's why that is a skip. Okay, my question though was about the overseas grants. Can you just briefly tell us what the basic requirements are for the 2000?
They have to be a Gates County business, at least one of the
brick and mortar.
Correct. They have to have a brick and mortar. They have to, at least one of the owners has to live in Gates County. They have to have revenue less than $2 million, so it cannot be part of a chain, that sort of thing. They have to provide proof that their county taxes have been paid, proof that they are not on the debarred list with the secretary, that they are in good standing with the Secretary of State. They also have to fill out the application, of course, and include the receipts for what they are requesting reimbursement for. And they can be
COVID related.
Right. And it can be PPE that they purchase for their staff. And it could also be rent and utilities for their brick and mortar business.
Do we know how many applied?
So far, there have been 5 applications.
5.
And three already approved.
Right, 3 have already been approved. No, wait a minute, that's what we done. So there's 4 that's applied, and then we have 1 that's going to be reviewed next week, because, no, Friday, week's getting ahead, being reviewed on Friday. So we still have quite a bit of money to give out. There's been not quite $6,000 allocated yet.
And we had
out of 20, correct.
So if y'all know anyone or any business, spread the word.
Yeah, I think the community's listening. I know just about everywhere I go, people have these glass screens up, plexiglass, probably whatever, the holes cut out, things like that. So, I mean, if you had several employees, I'm sure there's some businesses, I mean, that could help get up there to the dollar amounts, to the 2,000 limit. Just one of the things I thought about that might allow somebody to reach that threshold. Would you have to have a $2,000?
No,
So you could, say you had $750 in expenses, so you don't have to get to that number.
right. Two of the applications did not ask for $2,000.
Oh, okay.
Mr. Chairman, I have a couple of questions about the housing summary that we
Yes,
did,
ma'am.
very thorough. But I'm looking at 2017, and it states that 250,548 has been dispersed out of $362,212. So that's about $100,000 remaining. So
Right.
where is that?
That's the two houses that have been approved for rehabilitation.
So that money be used for that?
That's what that money will be used for.
Will be used for?
Yes, they have not been rehabilitated yet.
Okay. In 2019, okay, I see pending, all of that. So where is that money coming from? What was the fund? Because
It's the North Carolina Housing Finance Agency.
Mhm.
They have several different pots of money that have different criteria, and they all have different amounts that your house has to meet certain criteria. And if you have a house that needs more than $25,000 worth of work, then you are not eligible because you are only allowed to spend up to $25,000 unless there's extenuating circumstances. And then we have gone to the state because for the first one, the 2016, there were certain circumstances once they got in that were beyond, and there was extra money that the state had not allocated, which allowed us to go ahead and use more of those funds.
And finally, I see Mr. Bach is having challenges with office standing, so request for housing bids has not gone out. So he says he's running behind 30 days.
Correct.
So,
That was as of October 7th. So he anticipated the beginning of November being able to put everything out to bid and get everything finalized.
That probably falls into that last meeting. I think we talked about the 48 months or 2 years or 3 years or whatever it was, the slow time frame.
I know
Grant.
that's to close out by November of next year, I believe.
Correct.
2021. So I'm just watching this to make sure that this stays on the radar and stays moving in a timely manner. He did a very good job when he was here, a thorough job with his email. And I'm probably gonna ask for another email since I've got this information, or we have received this information about the lag time that he's experiencing because of lack of staffing. Okay.
I think another problem is going to be getting materials. Building materials now are very difficult to come by.
They're manufactured. They're going to be modulars.
Okay, they're going to be modular.
Yes.
Okay, that way.
Right. So that should help with that portion of it.
Okay.
And just to add a little bit of that, all the commissioners have been concerned over this slowness after they've been granted a grant, that our citizens of Gates County have not been provided what they were promised. So that's really proceeding as a problem.
Snail's pace.
Absolutely. Well,
I mean, we're blessed and thankful.
2016.
Yeah.
And 2018 was it 500? What are we granted in 2018?
There was none.
We didn't have any 2018 funds.
CDBG?
No.
What, Natalie, leftover school system money, September 11th, you and Kim met with them. If it comes in under budget, what happens with that money?
That money is used to pay back that loan. And based on the preliminary numbers, it's not a very large
It's gonna
number,
be close, probably.
but it will be under budget.
I
That will be
remember
the important thing.
Ray Felton saying that he was gonna come in under budget. It might be a couple of dollars, but it was gonna come in under
Right.
budget. He took pride in that.
That doesn't happen all the time, but I would like to go back and remind everybody the library came in under budget as well.
Good point. Any other comments or questions or as pertaining to county manager's report? Hearing none, we'll move on. Tax report, Mr. Hill.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you for approving the refunds. I assume everybody has their collected report for September. Collections still remain steady. We collected over $411,000 For the month of September, roughly 7,000 of that came from Zacchaeus Legal Services, our foreclosure attorneys. I have not seen any slowing down on the DMV funds. I don't think the state's leniency with renewals has affected us any based on last year's numbers and this year's numbers. As of right now, collection rate of 13.74%. Last year at this time it was 10.68, so we're ahead, which is good.
Very good. On the, you're through, right?
Yes, sir.
You ready for questions?
Yes, sir.
Sorry.
Yes, sir.
The Zacchaeus, do you know how many cases that closed out roughly?
I do not know right offhand.
Do we have more cases to give to him, turn over to him?
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, ma'am, we do. We do. And, we held off back in March from, sending any more to him until we figured out what was going to happen with the COVID stuff. So I don't know when we wanted to revisit that as far as sending more cases to him, or we haven't pursued any collections, any enforced collections as far as garnishments or wage garnishments or anything like that. We did send out debt set-off letters about 45 days ago, and we've gotten some response from that, from people coming in and wanting to go ahead and get those taken care of.
Or you get a program started where they can pay it back.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, so on the debt set-off letters, is that something that the office was doing? Were they doing that prior to you coming?
Yes, sir.
It's
That's,
like done
that's the program
quarterly?
that's done through the state.
Okay.
It's done on an annual basis. We send them the delinquent list over 2 years delinquent. And if they don't pay that back, if they don't pay their taxes before the end of October, then if they were to receive any lottery proceeds or they were to receive a state tax return, we could take what they owed us out of their winnings or their North Carolina state tax return.
Okay. All right. All right. Thank you, Chris.
Yes, sir. Anything else?
Very well, thank you, Mr. Hill.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Any other departmental reports? Articles of interest, County Manager.
Let me get to that.
I would like to just say that the Meals on Wheels program, and I had the information. But due to the virus and all, they're serving more meals than ever before. They have increased by 61%, but 78% of their volunteers are inactive because of most of our volunteers are of the age where they did not want to be put in to go be delivering food. But what has happened is the 22% have taken on more of the burden. Also, different organizations, and we do have pickup points now for some of them, but we don't have congregate meals anymore, but you can go to a central location and pick up meals. So they have still managed to carry forward this program and to increase the number. There are, and I can give you numbers, in the month of September, they delivered 10,000 plus home delivered meals, almost 7,000 pickup meals. And they do it not every day of the week, but
Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
Yeah, 3 days a week.
Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I think.
Because of the number of volunteers. So if you know of anybody who has some extra time and would like to, I know that the credit union has done that, and some of the people at the community center and various people have stepped up.
Excellent, thank you for that, bringing that forward. Any other articles of interest?
No.
Here now we'll move forward to the county calendar. So everyone had an opportunity to review that. Anything to be added or deleted? Seeing none, we'll move forward to public hearing.
There is no public hearing tonight.
All right. New business. board retreat. I think commissioners have.
You skipped old business.
Yeah, skip. What I skip?
Old business.
Old business.
Old business. Oh, sorry about that. Yeah, Confederate Monument Committee, member selection. We,
Mr. Chair,
yes, sir.
we're gonna, Mr. Owens, will sound a lot louder now, Melissa. Back up. I want to make sure we get this right because of what happened in previous times between me and my fellow Commissioner Owens. Do we open the floor for nominations, Commissioner Owens, or do we just make nominations?
I said we open the floor for nominations.
So, Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion that we open the floor for nominations for the Confederate Monument Committee member selection.
Second the motion.
All right, we sit here, opening nominations for selection for the Monument Committee.
Mr. Chairman, I'll go first. That's okay with you?
Are we gonna vote on that?
Yeah, let's vote on this.
Still got you.
He loves to do that. I'll call the vote, Mr. Chairman.
All right.
All in favor?
All right, we call for a vote. Aye. Any opposed, like sign? Hearing none, move forward with nomination.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to nominate Deborah Lee.
And that is Deborah Lee.
Deborah Lee.
Roger.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to nominate Betty Hora.
Betty Hora is a nomination.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to nominate Robert Hollowell Jr.
Robert Howell Jr.
Hallowell.
Hollowell.
Oh, Junior.
Hollowell.
Hollowell.
Correct.
Former
Roger that.
commissioner.
All right. And Mr. Hoff, would you,
I would like to nominate Joyce Lassiter.
George Lassiter,
Joyce.
Joyce?
Mhm.
I'd like to nominate Guy Holly.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to nominate Mo Brooks. And Mr. Chair, I'd like to nominate Malcolm Sears Jr.
Malcolm Sears Jr.
Chairman, we agreed that we were going to have a committee of 7,
We did.
and I believe, is that the 7th one?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So nominations are hereby closed.
Make that motion, Mr. Chairman.
I'll second that motion, Mr. Chair.
All right, there's a nomination to close the nominations. So there's a motion on the floor and a second. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign? Hearing none, so be it. There's 7 nominees.
Mr. Chairman, were you able to record all of those? Could you read that list again? Or
I
anybody?
do have the 7 written down, but
Deborah Lee.
Deborah Lee. How could I forget that? Betty Hora, Robert Howell, Joyce
Lassiter.
Lassiter, Guy Holly, Mo Brooks, and Malcolm Sears
Junior.
Jr.
And for the record, I thought it was Robert Hollowell Jr.
Hollowell.
Robert Hollowell Jr.
Jr. Okay. Commissioner Owens, I had the majority of them. Thanks, sir.
Yeah, I missed one. Thank you.
All right, we'll move right along. Old business. Jim's lease agreement.
There was no vote taken.
Pardon?
You closed the nominations, if I believe, but you did not vote on.
So now we'll vote.
Oh, okay. I was thinking we voted on that. Maybe we did that. All right. Is there a nomination to accept these nominations? The motion.
You call for the ayes. I have one.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign? Hearing none. These are the nominees. All right, now we'll move along to item B, the Jim's lease agreement and update.
I sent an email the information that I received from the county attorney regarding the draft MOU that I met with Vanessa Truman and Renee McGinnis about. And the one concern that Jim's had was about the insurance, and the Albemarle Food Bank had recommended they have at least $100,000 policy. The information from our insurance recommended a $500,000, but they said it is at the county's discretion. So that is what Attorney Godwin was questioning about the amount of insurance coverage that was needed by Jim's. That was the only issue that he saw. I know Ms. McGinnis and Ms. Truman are here. If you have any questions that you would like to ask them regarding anything that's in the MOU, because we did change a few words within this document as well.
But
Yes,
what
ma'am,
was
would
the
like-
recommendation from our attorney? Did he think 100,000 was sufficient?
Yes.
Okay.
As I recall, it was $100,000 recommended. I would like, if our Jim's representative would mind stepping to the podium so we can, certainly thank you for the, important work you do. And the coverage you have for the county. And, if you have any questions, concerns, or comments to us.
No, I didn't. We quoted all the four, insurance companies in the county and got one quote back, so that's the one we're going with.
Very well. And as Commissioner Hoffa mentioned, the figures were brought forth about insurance. Believe that our county attorney did recommend 100,000, if I'm not mistaken. And that's what you understand.
Yeah, that's what I got the quote for.
Would you mind sharing with us what the cost of the insurance is gonna be?
I don't have my glasses on.
Down your head.
That's where they were. $546.60.
For the 100,000?
And of course, since that has, if that's what you agree upon and vote upon tonight, that will be incorporated into this MOU instead of the language that's in there currently. Because if you'll note, there is a little quote, a little bold highlighted or bold section that we had discussed when we had our meeting about the request for the insurance. So that will be taken out.
And statement that they will have carry $100,000.
Right, the 100,000. So number 9 will be reworded to reflect the insurance that they are going to purchase if you recommend the $100,000.
And then y'all will have a copy of the
Right.
actual.
Do we need to do anything special, Natalie, since we're going against the recommendation of our insurance?
No, is Christy on the phone? Okay. Not based, Christy Byram has called in because she spoke directly with our insurance. And that's why I forwarded you that message. It says that is their recommendation. But it does say that the county can do what they so choose. I don't know if she has anything she wants to add to that or not.
I'm here if you have any questions.
Our insurance company, if I understood Natalie correctly, our insurance company had a recommendation of a level of coverage. Christy, is that correct?
That's correct, $500,000.
Okay, because I'm a little surprised that,
Well, that's what they recommend.
I'm not surprised at their recommendation. I'm surprised that we're not doing at least 500,000. And Vanessa, you didn't get a quote for the 500,000, did you? Okay. All right. So we've still got some more work to do, Natalie, if I understand correctly.
That's up to the commissioners. You can approve the 100,000, or you could say, no, you're going to go with what the insurance company recommends.
Okay, from what I read on this statement, it says Albemarle Regional Food Bank, and it said 100,000. Is that correct? They had requested a quote of 100,000 for a recommendation of the Albemarle Regional Food Bank.
Right.
and our insurance recommends 500,000.
And
You know, I don't.
where did, oh,
Jim's is paying the bill, the insurance.
Yes.
And I don't want to bankrupt Jim's. But it's our county property. And we carry $100,000 in insurance coverage, a whole lot more than $100,000 in insurance coverage on all of our facilities. I don't know what the number is. I assure you it's not 100,000. It's a larger number. And I realize that, Natalie, it's in a blanket type thing. So we're not singling out one facility like we're talking about for gyms here. And again, I don't want to run their tab up, but we need to protect the general fund and the coffers for our citizens. I'd like to know what the $500,000 figure quote would be.
Can I clarify what this stuff?
Sure.
You use insurance, so you might know what it means. Liability limits of insurance, commercial general liability. Each occurrence, this is $1 million. Personal injury and advertising injury excluded. Medical expense, any one person, 5,000. Damage to premises rented to you, 100,000.
Hey, did I hear you say $1 million in there somewhere in the beginning?
Each occurrence for liability, 1 million.
1 million. So it's not 100,000, it's $1 million. Yeah. So it is, your quote is $1 million.
Okay, well, the damage to premises rented to you.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I'm concerned about the person who slips and falls.
But you've got $1 million.
Yeah. It's $1 million. From what you read, it's a $1 million general liability policy. And it protects our facility, our county facility, the brick and mortar, for $100,000. But at the same time, we have that building insured. So 100,000 on the building through you would be primary if your group was the cause of the fire. You know, lightning strikes it, you're not responsible for that. Our county policy would cover that. So if what you just read to me is $1 million of liability, and it's the liability part that I was concerned about anyway.
And how does your board, have y'all had an opportunity to discuss it? You have not?
One other thing, when you, if you get back with the insurance company, I would suggest that you ask them to list the county as a additional insured. This is just a phrase that goes on there. Sort of like, when the bank has a lien on your car or mortgage on your house, it's called additional insured endorsement. Okay.
And Commissioner, is Christie still online? I wonder if Christie can tell us what the 500,000 would cover as far as each division of that policy.
That would be the general liability. So where she's got a quote for 100,000 general liability, they just recommend a 500,000 general liability.
Okay.
Christy, I don't know if you could hear everything that Ms. Truman just read off the declaration page of the insurance policy, and it's a $1 million general liability policy. So she has much more than $100,000 policy.
Right. And she said personal injury was excluded and $5,000 medical.
That's right, and that's pretty standard.
And right now I'm at home and cannot tell you what we have that building insured at. So.
But it is insurance.
Yes, but I mean, it sounds like the policy they're looking at should sustain what we need. And as far as what the insurance recommends, I can get them to break that down when they recommend a $500,000 if that's what you want.
Well, what I'm trying to say is she's been quoted $1 million policy. So that's twice the 500,000. So it's $1 million general liability policy. So we have that covered.
It sounded like it to me, yes.
All right.
Very well. Mr. Sherman, thank you for doing that research on that and bringing that forward to us too, so we have that as a comparison. So, thank you, Mike.
So
Thank you, Vanessa.
the
And again-
next step is what?
Say again.
The next step.
For this, we have to accept that.
I've got one.
There's a question, Commissioner Jones?
I've got one question, Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
Excuse me, I apologize. How did we decide on 3 years? I know it's got a 90-day cancellation by either side, but was that a standard some way or?
That was based on other leases that have been in place in the past.
Gotcha.
Okay, questions sufficient. Any other questions or comments? Is there a motion to move forward with this as far as an expense?
Well, I heard the county manager say that there was going to be a change.
Well, it was dependent upon what we can change. We'll have to change number 9 where it says the coverage shall be at least 3 million combined single limit. We'll have to change that wording because this was the wording from an old lease.
Okay.
And it'll be based upon what their insurance says will be
Okay.
incorporated in here.
All right. So outside of that, everything else is, okay.
Correct.
All right. That's the only question I was had because I remembered question 9. Yep.
All right, do we want to move forward with the motion?
Chairman, I make a motion that we accept the MOU. County manager, correct? MOU?
Yes.
That has been worked out between the county and Jim's.
I second that motion.
Motion and a second to approve the amounts moved forward from Jim's to the county. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign? Hearing none, so be it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank y'all.
Oh, thank you.
So y'all had to go to your board and get it approved.
Good job.
Feel free to stay. There's a little bit of room left in here if y'all want to.
Good job. Take care. C, emergency operation plan. Temporary body storage. I think we discussed this a little bit last time.
You have in your packet the section from our emergency operations plan. It was previously entitled Mass Fatality Plan, and we reworded a lot of things in it to make it read the way we need it to read for our current situation, as we explained at the last meeting. Basically, it still meets the criteria of our emergency operations plan for mass fatalities. However, it is, especially in attachment 1, speaks directly to our temporary morgue facility that we're putting in place at the EOC. So it's there for your reading. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to entertain them. I did say at the last meeting that we had a temporary field morgue. It's referenced in the final option, the last sentence on attachment 1. We have that is functioning and correct and being able to be deployed, as well as the fixed facility was fixed today, was repaired today. There's still some repairs to be made tomorrow, but the morgue facility at the EOC will be functioning as of close of business tomorrow.
I have no questions, but in that second paragraph in the end, there is a contractual is failed. So you want to straighten that up. Thank you. And I would have done that beforehand if I had that night.
And thank you for explaining this to us last time so that we really need to stay on top of that because there are many, there's more traffic and other things are happening that do produce fatalities. And just so that all of us can hear it again, is that it does provide a spot and a place for fatality, for a victim, for a body, if you will, for the remains to be at a central location so they may be removed in a good fashion, in a timely fashion too.
And sometimes we have a long wait for a coroner to come, don't we?
For a medical examiner.
Or medical.
So the whole premise here is it's temporary, less than 24 hours. It's not going to be a whole facility for long-term storage.
Any questions or comments as you have looked through the fatality management program?
I'd just like to say that it's very thorough. You really put it down in writing what you explained to us when you were here the last time. We appreciate that. So we're all clear as far as what we have in the county. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, we need to make a motion to approve this plan.
We do.
I don't, well, I mean,
It's part of the emergency operations plan that's standing.
And those changes don't have to, okay?
So we're good to go.
Up to speed, right?
All right. Very well.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you, Billy.
CDBG coronavirus program grant update.
there is a copy, and yes, I realize it is very, very difficult to see. That was the best I can do. I received this information today from Roanoke Electric regarding what they recommend we use the CDBG COVID funds for as related to the broadband public hearing that was held a few weeks ago. As you may recall, they had talked about how they are laying fiber at $30,000 a mile, but that is more reliable. We had discussed perhaps using water towers or even space that is dedicated to the county on a cell tower within the county for a fixed wireless option if it was within the areas that REA was currently working in and their internet provider could work with those locations. Today they sent me this file. They had sent a map last week. I believe I had forwarded it to you. That was very difficult to understand. So this is what I received today. As you can, hopefully you can make out because it does open in Google Earth. There are two, each page has one red line. One of them goes from at the Y intersection with Taylor Mill Road in York, comes all the way down 137, past this building right here to the flashing caution light, turns right and stops about up the driveway, it appears, of Duck Through. The other red line goes from the intersection at Easton's Crossroads, which is Medical Center and Mill Pond Road and 158, up Medical Center to Willington Road. That is where they are recommending fiber be run. I sent you another email later because I asked for how many miles, so that way we could have an cost estimate. It's 12 miles of fiber that would be constructed at $30,000 a mile for $360,000. Fiber network equipment is $328,500, and engineering is $121,500 for a total of $810,000.
So that takes up almost all the 900,000.
Correct. It would leave the 10%, which could then be used, as we had stated, we would have to pay for someone to manage these funds to assist the finance office because of the amount of money and to assist as they saw fit with this. And I cannot move forward on writing anything with the grant until a decision is made on where you would like the fiber to be run, or if instead you want them to look at the wireless options. Because part of the grant asks, where's this project going to take place? And then it asks some factors about that population that's in that vicinity of the project.
County manager,
Mhm.
I think I'm colorblind. I see the map with Easton's Crossroads on it.
Yes,
I see some little green circles. I think they're green.
those are houses.
Those are houses.
And,
But now.
well, and if you'll let me explain what the
Sure.
green means, because if you'll notice on the one on 137, there's blue dots.
Yep.
Those are houses as well. And when you click on them in Google Earth, if I can get it quit moving, when you click on them, it pulls up information about that house. It tells you the parcel, it gives a entry ID, which says Gates parcel, and it gives them a number. It tells the address, and then it also tells all the GIS coordinates, but it also includes, for broadband purposes, the FCC speed. So if it's a blue dot, I'm reading what it says. I don't ask for details, please, because I can't give you any. It says less than 25/3. The green dots say greater than 25/3. So because I know where some of these are, I just went ahead and made the assumption that, of course, the green has better connectivity because they might be located closer to one of those CenturyLink. I don't know what they call them. I'm gonna call them CenturyLink boxes or houses, like at the end of Hackley, those sort of things. That is what my assumption is. Then there's a few orange dots. And that says less than 10/1 for FCC speed.
Okay.
And of course, on Google Earth, I can blow it up, but I could not make it any bigger in order to print it.
So if I'm looking at the one with your on the top left,
Mhm.
all those green dots and that blue, I'm assuming that's the fire department,
Yes, that's-
maybe.
Yes.
So, okay, coming down.
Mhm.
So when you were talking about the yellow, green and blue dots and those numbers, I think the Federal Communication Company says 25 Mbps down and 3 Mbps is defined as maybe currently as what you would want.
Right.
It is.
And those don't match those numbers?
The greens do.
Okay, the greens.
Green's fine.
The blues do not.
What's
And
the
the-
recommended? Excuse me.
25 Mbps down and 3 Mbps up.
25,
Right. It's the download and upload speed. But that's about all I can tell you, or all I really understand.
I said, I know there's a difference.
Yeah, there
Mhm.
is a
But I think the
difference.
download is more important, maybe.
The download, I would think, because that's what's coming in.
Mhm.
Upload is where you put something up, which would probably not be as much as like some of the programs we get, like streaming and all that. That's why I was concerned about with the fiber. You can have fiber, but it's not at the speed we need it.
All township, but I'm not selfish all the time. What about the water towers?
Her message said what they sent is what they're recommending.
For more
Because
coverage?
those routes have the most, as she put, the most density that do not have state or federal funding already associated with them. And they are already planning the fiber to get to these routes with other funds.
Mhm.
And she said that they are still looking at all of the community facilities, which are the water towers and the cell tower. And it says, at this time, the recommended routes, fiber to the premise is the best option for this program. But we will continue to look at methods that we can utilize the water towers and cell tower for future deployment of a fixed wireless option.
Hadn't they had already planned to do yours though? Cause I read a couple last year or something.
They're on, I know someone on Taylor Mill has it, and I'm Small Lane, that area, Barfield, I
Yeah,
think.
some of those have already gotten it. That
The-
they had started. putting
And,
stuff
and,
on.
and we're lucky with internet where I'm at in York. I just think about like places like Boontown and people that have internet, but we're talking about free money here. They're partnering with us.
I'm not.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
But I know Roanoke Electric covers some of the county, but it does not cover Core P. It goes through Sandy Cross to a certain extent, the Hobbsville, it goes up through Carter's, but it doesn't go to the northern part of the county.
But these were two recommendations?
Yes,
So
that
it's
is,
A or B?
no,
I mean.
both of those are their recommendations.
Okay.
For the
They-
812,
Encompasses the whole-
810.
Right,
Right.
combining those 10 will spend the $810,000.
All right, so all we have to do is agree with what we see, if that
But,
makes
you know,
no
are
sense.
as we try to enlarge the system, are they going to be willing to go beyond their current customer areas?
I would think that this is outside their
Actually
current
saying
customer
outside
area.
of REA into Dominion Power areas.
Well, I know if you are not an REA customer, you can receive you can receive internet.
Yeah, I understand that part.
But you're talking about, I'm going to use my road as an example because it's Dominion. Will they eventually run internet fiber down my road? That I cannot address.
Well,
Or the
well,
areas that they do not serve,
Mhm.
I mean, anywhere close.
Because it's 137 Dominion. I know it is on my road.
I don't know about
think
the
it's
whole road.
enhancing, I may be wrong, I don't think it's enhancing anything related to REA's getting power to the citizens. They're just working toward providing funding for humanity
Oh, yeah.
rather than customer. So, I mean, I don't see that being any roadblock or stipulation or
No,
anything.
I'm not talking about a roadblock. I mean, I'm ready to vote for it.
Mhm.
But what I'm saying that as we look to make sure we can eventually cover the whole county, are they going to be willing to,
Not just their customers.
yeah,
Um,
or do we have to look for another group to come
Right.
in?
Our emergency manager rater is still sitting here, and I think he probably knows this answer. He's been to a wreck or two in York. Do you know the power provider between my house and Gatesville?
I think what I understood about this grant, they're partnering with us on these two initiatives to get broadband fiber to these sections. Going forward, we'll still have to look for other grant opportunities to expand it across the rest of the county. Right now, this is an opportunity to get it to these areas. Going forward, we have to make sure that we write other grants or partnerships to get it to other areas. And I understood that even though the water towers and cell towers are options, that's not the option you want. You want fiber.
Yeah.
You don't want, you can't have cell service now. You don't want it in the cell towers or the water tower. You want fiber.
Mhm.
So to get that, we have to do this grant with them. They're partnering with us.
Mhm.
Okay, we get this, if so fortunate to get the 900,000. But in the meantime, we know we need more fiber, more miles, more grant opportunities. So this is an opportunity that we should take advantage of. But while we're doing this, we're not gonna be complacent. While they're doing this, if we get the grant, we have to also go out and get more grant funding through partnership. And they may partner with us, I don't know, but somebody, needs to partner with us, but we can't do it standalone.
We should be pursuing before the first mile is put down.
And there are companies in northeastern North Carolina or in the Albemarle area that I know they're doing work in Hyde and Washington and some of those areas, and that's a River Street network. And they're not a electric company, they're just into fiber. But they do use water towers and all, and then, but even if you use water towers and all, you still have to put fiber in the ground at a certain point to go to the homes. It just cuts out areas where there's no homes that you can send it over the waves over the.
Yeah, the fiber is going to give you constant connectivity. You don't have to worry about the weather and issues.
But you're not, the drawback is they're not, don't want to lay the fiber without so many homes being attached to that fiber.
Mr. Chair, I'm prepared. Oh, go ahead, sir.
No, just that, as you well described, the beginning.
It is, it's beginning. I'm not against it. I'm just looking at, we got to be the holistic part, just keep on. Yes.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we communicate with Kathy Davis and Roanoke Connect to proceed with the two options provided to us tonight.
I second the motion.
There's a motion and a second on the floor to contact and stay in contact with Kathy Davis and Roanoke Electric as pertaining to the broadband and the grant. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign? Hearing none, so be it. Under new business. First item, board retreat. Any discussion, comments, dates?
At the end of, when we came out of closed session, I believe last time, there was discussion about a board retreat, and everyone was asked to bring some dates so that we could begin looking at when that should take place.
It's October. Shall we shoot for January?
Another year. Is that what?
Yeah.
Into it.
Yeah, hope it's a better one too.
Roger that.
Mr. Chairman, I am of the mind that we move it to January, and at the next meeting, bring some real dates back in the month of the year 2021. We just made, we're going to do some things this fall with dates. And we're in the middle of, I call it the celebratory Thanksgiving, Christmas, Halloween. Don't forget Halloween, I know. But I'm willing to just table this until the next meeting, and then we really bring back some dates and some time so we can make some plans for January.
Would it be beneficial if when we came back, if we said Saturdays in January, come back with dates? Natalie, does that make sense?
That's
Saturdays?
your discretion.
Saturday would be beneficial because you're talking about probably a day long retreat.
So we're talking about Saturdays in the next year, January. Coming
And,
year. And as discussion to table this matter until then.
Yeah. And right here, I think would be fine.
Yeah.
We spread out right here in this room. I think would be good. Okay.
All right. So this matter will be tabled until, for further discussion, our next commissioners meeting.
Bring back the dates.
From January. Okay. Item B, North Carolina Emergency Management designation of applicant's agent for DR-4393.
We will let Mr. Wynn explain this one.
Following a major natural disaster, the FEMA hazard mitigation branch provides opportunities for emergency managers to require equipment that will help add some bench strength to their departments or to their divisions. After Hurricane Dorian, the mitigation branch offered an opportunity. We applied for a generator to replace the generator that we have at the high school. The generator we have at the high school was donated to us by Verizon when they closed the tower in Sunbury. So it's still operable. However, we had an opportunity to get free money to get a new generator that wasn't 25 years old. So the grant has been accepted, has been approved. There was a very, very lengthy delay. I had actually forgotten that the grant had been applied for until we got this designated agent requisition. So this is the final piece of information that needs to be signed so we can send it up to FEMA and that that money be granted to us for a new generator.
Something, go ahead.
Sounds,
Did you write that grant yourself, Bill?
I applied for it. It's not a lot of writing involved. It's, you say what you need and so it's not like an eloquent written product, but I did apply for it.
Is there a home for the old one or?
Not as of yet. There was some discussion previously about moving it to Central, but they didn't build Central to the specifications to accept the generator without some modifications. So there is no current plan for the old generator. And the way these things go, it could probably be another 18 months before we ever actually see a generator.
Mm-hmm. The funds.
The funds for the generator. One of the problems that we have in the COVID era is prices have skyrocketed on things that we applied for 2 years ago. We may have to make some adjustments to what we are getting because of financing.
Yeah, I know a lot of companies are not making a lot of products, especially the expensive things like a generator, and putting them on a shelf and waiting for somebody to buy it. They're waiting until they get a request and then they build it and send it out.
That certainly makes good sense to us. I'd like to just mention something in the event that has come up in some of your briefings and what have you, and that is the ham radio. We had touched upon that because of terrorist events when that was, and it still is a concern. However, the inclement weather and those kind of situations come up. And because of that, we know that we can lose communications altogether if it's not blocked. And the ham radio system would not. And in some of the areas that I have operated in before, what we did is we financed and also assisted the Boy Scouts, someone that wanted their Eagle badge, to establish a ham radio system.
We have 2 ham radios.
Do it?
Yes, sir.
Are they operable?
Yes, sir. They are.
And are they where
At the EOC.
Very well, wonderful, good. Do we need equipment for that?
No, sir.
There, we don't need anything for it.
And in a grant opportunity several years ago, we got the radios and the antennas and all of that stuff at that time.
Well, they will have operators.
We have some licensed operators that have volunteered our time. We're in the middle of a debate now with as far as volunteers because we have to insure them, and it's quite expensive to insure volunteers. So there is a process in place that you would not have to be licensed in the time of a natural disaster.
Yeah, I think
So we're banking on that caveat.
And ham radios, they don't necessarily require a lot of updating. I mean, I think there are people out there that have ham radios for 20 years, and that's just not one of those things that gets outdated like a computer.
Yeah.
Well, far ahead of it. Thanks, sir. I was not aware of that.
So we need a motion, Mr. Chair, per that sheet from Melissa. Is that right?
From Melissa.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion that the board approve the designation of applicant's agent to authorize Ms. Roundtree to execute and file applications for federal and/or state assistance on behalf of Gates County.
All right, there's a motion on the floor and to provide a designation of applicant agent for DR 4393. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, aye. Aye. Any opposed, like sign? Hearing none, so be it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Billy.
C, Personnel Board Recommendations, Emergency Management Trainee. We met on that, and is there, do you want to?
Entertain any questions you have.
Questions, comments? As pertaining to the emergency management trainee. Is everyone up to snuff on that position?
Well, just to help the board understand how the meeting went, Billy made it known to us that there was some need for some people to have some like shadowing training and things like that, so that they could get caught up on things that they're going to need to know in the future. The way it was expressed to the personnel board, I think we were in agreement with what we were hearing. And then there are some grant dollars to help us the first 10 months.
No, what this, as you recall, this position was requested back at budget time, but it was not funded. And it's not grant dollars for this. It is the COVID funds that have freed up county funds.
Okay, right, okay.
Because dispatch is now considered essential personnel according to the federal grants. So we are being reimbursed the dispatchers' salaries and benefits. Therefore, that has freed up funds to allow us to move potentially move a part-time position into a temporary full-time position from November 1st through June 30th of next year. Because last month there was about $25,000 that was reimbursed from the COVID funds into the salaries for emergency management. And that's just a little less than what it would take for this position to be moved full-time between November and June. So that is the recommendation, to move a position to temporary full-time and to approve the emergency management trainee program so that the people can work with Billy to learn more about what he does.
Now, Natalie, you said November through June 30th.
Yes.
We're talking CARES Act money. You mentioned 25, it's a change. Last month came in
Right.
for dispatchers. Does that mean this position will be paid for by CARES Act money in November and December?
No, this position will not be paid for with COVID. It will fully be funded by county funds, because we are not paying for a position because it is not COVID related.
But those funds have been freed up.
Right.
Due to.
So dispatchers are COVID related, but EM is not.
Right.
Yeah, at least.
I was going to say, it just became.
It's very fluid situation.
Right, 911 just became eligible. They were not eligible March through July.
And we
I
can't.
understand that when those monies became available, that freed up county money.
Correct.
But we can't tie in, because being over 911, there's no way to tie Billy's in this
Right.
position in yet, at least.
Right.
And to piggyback on what Commissioner Owens was saying too, in the personnel board, if I'm not mistaken, is that we've been notified that our emergency management director may not be here in the year 2030.
No, sir, that's incorrect. Your emergency management director will not be here in the year 2030.
You might want to clarify that in that particular role. We hope you're still here.
Will not be in that role in 2030
So he
or considerably sooner.
he has had ample help or folks qualified in past that no longer exist. So he wants to train others to be able, and could be someone might be interested in that position in the future. So am I close to correct?
And Billy did, if I remember correctly, there was going to be like some floating hours there, because the availability was going to be an issue too.
That's right.
If I'm not mistaken, like 7 hours.
The idea is to take a 37.5-hour employee and allow them to do their standing job for 30 hours and allow them to shadow or train for 7.5 hours. However, we do need the flexibility to not shadow this week if they're needed at their regular job. So it's not adding a position, it's allowing a standing position to float into training with emergency management.
Any further discussion, comments?
I'm understanding that, the CARES Act is from November the 1st of 2020 to June 30th.
No, not the
No.
CARES Act funds. No,
Not CARES Act,
no, the CARES Act funds has to be spent
right, December.
by December.
I thought so.
Right. This position, the additional hours that this person's going to work will be paid for with county funds that are freed up because we are being reimbursed through the CARES Act.
So basically, instead of money going back possibly into the fund balance, we're gonna do this. Now, and real quick, if I jump in front of you, then you throw something at me. It doesn't, I see temporary, but is temporary defined? Was that, I don't see temporary through June 30 because that's next fiscal year. I didn't see that defined anywhere where it was, temporary from November. It wasn't specified, I didn't think. Was that discussed in personnel board?
It was discussed in personnel that it's going to be temporary through, that's why the
June 30th.
recommendation says.
So we just need to make that in the recommendation that through
Right.
June 30th. Okay, got you.
And I will say that I'm gonna come back at budget time and ask for that position again. But we can't do that now, so this is a workaround.
And
Well, we did want to look in the future, and that's what the personnel board also considered.
I see a conjunction here said, and create an emergency management training program.
Yes,
So that position is going to be temporary, full-time?
It's really just a job description.
Mhm.
Job description?
Yeah, it's really not a position. There's no pay scale on it. It's a job description, so we can move interdepartmental. So I've got staff that works for me already in 911 communications. They're already under my department. But there was nothing that said, I'm gonna pull you from the 911 console to come train in emergency management. So this is a job title that allows us flexibility within the department.
And probably a little further description, it would answer any questions or disagreements, concerns about double dipping.
Yeah, there will be no additional pay. They're 37 and a half hour employees.
So what I'm hearing is this is a succession plan. You're
It could-
planning to back.
Correct, yes, ma'am.
and we did put a job description in there so people could better understand kind of what they would be doing in those 7.5 hours that they're spending, but also so that, as he said, when he comes back in February and asks for this position for next year, you're already aware of what they are doing.
It's the program is designed to increase knowledge
Mhm.
and awareness of what they might need, but not preparing one individual for a future position necessarily.
And that was my concern.
Mhm.
You need succession plan.
Well, we did talk about that, the person would understand, if I remember correctly, Billy, that this did not guarantee that person, if we go through this for X number of months, you're guaranteed a position at this level or whatever. So we did discuss that.
That would actually be a true new position
Mhm.
if that was going to be the case.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we realize we're not there yet.
Okay.
And this would give a person a chance to see what you do, but also might decide that the person might not want to do this.
Correct.
That's correct.
Okay.
But it was quickly decided that if I were to tender my resignation tomorrow or fall dead tomorrow, there's a lot of holes, and we needed to start filling those holes.
All right, any further discussion? Dr. Richards?
I'm fine.
You good? Okay. All right, is there a motion to adopt the emergency management trainee program?
I make a motion that we approve the recommendation of the personnel board.
There's a motion on the floor
I'll second the motion.
and a second. for the adoption and the, emergency management trainee program. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign? Hearing none, so be it.
If I may, I wanted to follow up on an email that I had been asked a question and I did not get the information compiled until today. It was about some regarding school information and school finances and such. I did send that to you today, a little bit after 5. I did not print it because one of the pages is, one of the spreadsheets is 26 pages. And I did not know if you really wanted all of that data or if you were just concerned about certain columns of that data. So if you decide you only want certain pages or certain columns, let me know, and then we can print that information for you.
But you said we got email after 5, so we can
Yes.
look at it.
Yes.
I did not.
I hadn't seen it yet.
Well, like I said, I was finally able to get Excel to do what I wanted it to do, and so I could send it at 10 after 5.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
I make a motion that we enter into closed session pursuant to North Carolina General Statute 143-31811 in reference to A3 legal, 6 personnel.
All right, there's a motion, to go into closed session, reference North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11. Is there a second?
Second.
And a second. All in favor, go into closed session?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
no, go ahead. I apologize. Go ahead, sir.
No, that's-
That's okay. I changed my mind.
All right, there's a motion and a second in discussion as pertaining. Hearing none, pardon? Did I hear? Oh, okay. Is there a motion to go to closed session?
A motion and a second. Yes, sir.
Motion and a
Already.
second's been on floor. All right, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign? Not, we hereby go into closed session.
Can we stay here?
I left my stuff back there.
Okay. Well,
Still don't have that little air sign for you.
I know, but see, my thing doesn't,
I know, you got
I got to work on it. And then they tell me I have to speak into this thing.
Is there a motion to come out of closed session?
So move.
A
Second.
motion and a second to come out of closed session. All in favor, aye. Any opposed, like sign? Hearing none, we stand out of closed session. Any motions to be made?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that the county manager, Natalie Roundtree, be terminated effective immediately pursuant to Section 10A of her employment contract with Gates County.
Mr. Chair, I'll second that motion.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote, and that vote will be by proxy from voice, each commissioner. I'll start at the end with Commissioner Owens,
Aye.
Commissioner Hofler,
Nay.
Commissioner Riddick,
Aye.
Commissioner Jones,
Aye.
and aye for myself. All right, the ayes have it.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we adjourn.
Prior to adjournment,
Well, you got a motion, you'd have to retract that
Yeah,
motion.
I'll retract my motion.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion, we appoint Diane Hendricks as interim county manager with all rights and responsibilities, effective immediately. Compensation and term to be negotiated by the chair and Ms. Hendricks and be brought back to the full board at our next meeting.
there's a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Second.
It's a motion and a second. All in favor, aye.
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 Any opposed, like sign? Hearing none, so be it.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
And
Go ahead. Mr. Chair, I retract my motion, sir.
yes, by adjournment and by procedure, I'd like to ask Commissioner Hofler and our clerk, Ms. Lawrence, if they would accompany our county manager to her office to collect the county property and secure it until some other time.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion to adjourn, second. And we certainly want to thank county manager for her service. It has been good. And with that, adjourn.
We didn't vote.
I'm sorry.
We got a vote to adjourn.
Is it a motion for adjourn?
Aye.
Aye.
All in favor? Adjourn.